get the vibe that you're distant. There's something about you that's different. I see it in your eyes. Something isn't right. Tell me again what I'm missing. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. It is a lie when you tell me that nothing is wrong, just leave it be. But I see it in your eyes. Something isn't right. Tell me again what I'm missing. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. I will make it right. I will make it right. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll. 'Cause you're fading out. We've been here before. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Don't go through that door. Tell me again, just tell me again, and I'll make it right. Tell me again. Tell me again.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hi, Rodney.
How's it going, Andy? How are you
It's
doing?
going good. How about you?
Couldn't be better.
Couldn't be better. You look good, man. You look starting to look Christmassy. You're going to get that request for a Santa Claus job. You know this is coming.
It's coming. That's fine. It's fine. It's part of getting old, I guess.
No, it's not the age. It's the beard.
Well, that's what I mean. You know, if I was younger, it'd be black or something, right?
Oh, I guess. Yeah, okay, I get you. You're just smarter than me. I get it. Yeah, you're good. So we have the Fed rates come. Well, it started the same way. We always start the same way every week, and that is Rodney gives us an update on rates and sort of an outlook on that. And today we've got it's my fault. We got a technical thing going on, so Rodney's just going to tell us what the numbers are and the things to expect.
Well, since our last, remember we talked last week. November 14th or November 10th was a really big day for us. The market improved about 1 point, and ever since then, it's kind of stayed the same. And now, beginning with the end of last week and this week, it's starting to tick up a little bit, right from those levels. So that's good news. Today, it's down about 3 basis points, which isn't hardly any change at all. So that's it's not going the other way. And let's see, for the last month, like I said, we're still hovering just a hair better than we were. So that's good news. It seems like it's leveling off a little bit, not just going crazy up like it was.
And that's really what we're looking for. Is there's going to be changes, but none of that volatile stuff. Isn't that correct? Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd love to see a little bit more stability in the market, because when the market's unstable like this, they kind of several of the products they don't release and update, like ARMs and things like that. The market's been moving so fast that most investors are not even putting these things out there to where it makes it feasible for consumers to get, because they don't know where the market's going.
Right.
So,
and I was when you talk about investors, I was reading an article this morning, and they're saying that next year for investors could be a really good time. It was a kind of an interesting perspective. I mean, what they're getting at is, for investors, if prices are going to flatten out and they have less competition, meaning fewer buyers to compete against as an investor, then you're going to be not knocking your bottom line too much. And they use the word explosion, but I think that might be a little sensationalist. But if a person is into it'd probably have to be a longer term flip, I would think. But if you're going for rentals, perhaps that'd be a good thing. You'd have to be careful though. I understand rental prices are going down in Nashville. Have you heard that?
I haven't seen anything on it, but I wouldn't be surprised with this, as little as activity as it is right now. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, there was some pretty surprising numbers on the rent. I surely don't keep track of that so much, but I know our prices are going down, and they're saying Nashville is going to be one that's going to have quite an adjustment, like 100 other cities. We're not special. We're not, don't have any particular problems. We're doing what everybody else is doing and adjusting with the market. Did you have any other thoughts? I always love hearing you talk. You're such a smart guy.
I appreciate it.
It's really a privilege to be on with you, man.
That's as far as the rate and the market goes. That's today's update.
Okay, good. Well, one thing I wanted to good. We're getting I did a video last week, and it was really pretty popular. It turned out really well, and it was called the top 10 list of 2023 predictions, and it was by a guy. Let me look it up. Matthew, bear with me. I'm sorry about that. Here we go.
GARDNER.
That's it. Yeah, thank you very much. And he's somebody of some rapport. He does really good stuff. And so I produced a video with his top 10 list, and there were some people that vehemently disagreed with his theories, and others it made sense to them. So I thought this would be our chance to, it was just a real short thing, just a couple of bullet points. This would be our chance to kind of flesh some of these out. So, anyway, so if you can play along.
I got it.
So number one is that there's next year, this is everything, the top 10 list for 2023 predictions. Next year, there's not going to be a housing bubble. And the short story on housing bubbles is, and Rodney and I went through that, if it was called a bubble or a crash or whatever, massive adjustment. Would you be able to explain this particular market as different from back then, Rodney? Is that something you'd be comfortable doing?
Yes, today's market is a lot different than the 2008. 2008's to me problem was more of our banking industry was suffering. Like there was a lot of big companies crashing, big financial institutions crashing, and that's when the government kind of stepped in and said, "We're you're too big to fail," kind of thing. When all that came out, so pre 2008 also, or what led to 2008 was all these programs that had been created that you could come in and sign with, get 100% financing. You could have a really low credit score. And then you were choosing products also that were, they were referred to as option arms, meaning after 2 years, it is going to adjust, right? And it's going to adjust significantly. And so when people were at the height of getting those products and buying houses at 100% with no investment, and then the market takes a hit to where the values go down, and so now they say they bought this house for 300,000 and the market's starting to take a dip, and it took a 10% dip really quick. It was now say that house is worth 270, so the people just walked away from them, right? They was easier for them to walk away from it than just to think about long term. So that's the major difference between 2008 and now, is that we have excellent underwriting for across the country, and then two, we have a lot of value. We're coming off a unprecedented equity building time, so that most of the homeowners have a lot of equity in there that if they were to get in trouble, they could just sell before they need to try to foreclose and things like that. I lost your sound, Andy.
That's because I was muted. Thank you. Good catch. Because I went through that period of time with you, and I mean, I was out selling that stuff when that was going on. The big difference was, and you mentioned it, people were losing houses, and it's just the inventory skyrocketed, and there was I remember on every street, and I almost mean this literally, it seemed like every street, every neighborhood had 1, 2, or more foreclosures in it. And, one foreclosure is not going to hurt pricing, but you give me 5, it's going to make a difference, So the bottom line on the no housing bubble idea is people are connecting price corrections with a crash, and that's really not fundamentally the same. Now, could the market have problems from other areas? I suppose. But I'm talking, and you and I are talking about from a real estate side. If there's an outside force, we can't do anything about that. But
Right.
the fundamentals on the housing side are not that. So that's good on that. So the next one, love those screens. Look at that. This one's definitely for you. This guy is predicting that mortgage rates are going to drop in 2023.
Well, I think they are as well. I mean, you never know by how much, but from everything I can gather, there's still a lot of difference between some of the big indicators they look at, like the 1 year and the 10 year versus the what the prime is and all that stuff. So they think that there's a lot of extra right now built into mortgage-backed securities. So I agree, I think mortgage rates will drop as long as crazy economic factors don't change that.
Right. And just to be clear, so that somebody doesn't get the wrong idea, we're espousing another gentleman's ideas that I tend to agree with. That doesn't mean this isn't a prognostication. This is just what he thinks is going to happen. And, he's been in the business for a long time. He's an economist, which means he studies the numbers. So could it be different? Yeah. But the way it's looking, even now, because the feds are promoting the idea. You know how subtle they are.
Yes.
About them. I mean, it's like one sentence that I'm not sure what I heard, but they're indicating that they're only going to raise the rates I think this month, 0.5% or 50 basis points or 0.5%, however you want to slice that. And that's sending everybody the message, hey, we're going to lay off a little bit. And so I think that everybody gives everybody the warm fuzzies. No? Yes?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's that's a little strange to me. That one where if people are expecting a larger hit, and honestly, I don't follow that Fed changing that prime rate as much as I follow other stuff. But it's like he just beat people over the head if they're taking a 0.5 point adjustment up and thinking that's good, and thinking he's slowing it down, right? I mean,
well, it's that last what's been happening for 6 months in real estate market. The prices have still been going up, but we're calling it decelerating because it's not going up as fast as it was. It's
yeah.
It's confusing. Anyway, so that's we're thinking rates are going to drop, and it seems friendly enough to me that I think there's a better than 50-50 chance that it will, Let me do something here. Okay. This is working really good. So the next one is inventory. We're not expecting inventory to grow very much, and I can take a piece on this. Although active listings have been growing, it's because the listings that were on the market have been hanging around. Days on market is going up, and it's going up pretty high. Not fast, but I mean, it's going up pretty high. Whereas we were selling homes in 2 and 3 hours or 2 and 3 days, or if a home wasn't sold over a weekend, the homeowner was thinking something was wrong with the house, That's not the case now. I mean, I was walking through listings with somebody the other day on a computer, and the minimum days on market was 37 days. So I mean, our days on market are way up. Now there's a difference when something goes under contract and when it closes and that kind of stuff. But it's just flat out taking longer to sell houses. And when that happens, as new listings come on and fewer listings are selling off, then naturally the active listings are going to grow. And I read just this morning, again, another article this morning, that the percentage of what they call delistings hit 2%, and that's up from 1.6, which doesn't sound a lot, but when you're talking about 700,000 houses, it's quite a few. And they were talking about the different cities and towns that were delisting, and that's because home sellers weren't getting the offers or the viewings or the showing. I mean, they're starting to quit is the way they're putting at it. Another reason that to not expect inventory to grow much is, and I don't know what it's going to take for this to happen because I happen to be in this category, is for owners that have a lower mortgage, say it's 3% or 4% or, on the lower end of the scale, it would be a challenge to want to sell and then go into another house if you had to get a loan and then hook up with 6%. That'd be tough. What are your thoughts on that, Ronnie? Oops, I lost you. Sorry about that. You're back.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of looking like a similar situation that last year. Well, when all the activity was going on, say a couple years ago, that it was too difficult for a lot of people to sell and buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're all these people that have these low rates. Now it's like they're just sitting on the fence. Like, well, I would have liked to move, or I wouldn't mind moving, but I don't want to buy at 6 or 7%. And they the last time, so you're going to have a lot of people on the fence. I think a lot of people that would normally be moving, but over the last few years that stopped them, and now that could be another roadblock to them. Is like, I'll just wait till rates come back down or whatever.
Yeah.
So
And you bring up a good point that I really hadn't considered before. For the people that, you're saying there's a certain percentage of people that would have moved had the numbers been different. Well, now that's called pent up demand. So
right,
when that number hits whatever is right, if it's 5%, 5.25%, 4, I don't know, I'm making it up. They're saying the numbers are going to be a skosh under 5 next year. Well, whatever number that is, if that pent up demand is there, we're going to see another huge change in the market pretty quick,
yeah, I think they'll start trickling in as because somebody's maybe at 6% or 5.5%,
Yeah.
and then once so they may get off the fence a little faster than some of the other ones. So
Yeah, yeah, because there's a lot of people that, as they should, they bought when the time was right. It doesn't like you always preach, and that sounded wrong, but you always say, buying a house is a long-term deal, regardless of the rates. And I'm not saying ignore them, but buy the house and do something down the road. You'll be
right,
fine. Okay, good. The next one is there's no next year. There's not going to be a buyer's market, but a more balanced one. The way they describe a balanced market, and I think this is probably a loose definition, would be 6 months of inventory, 5 to 6 months of inventory, meaning it takes 6 months for the current inventory to be absorbed by the number of buyers that are in the market. And that means that when that's the case, that the sellers have to compete with each other because buyers are going to have a lot of opportunity. And so buyer's market means that they have options and they can say no to a seller and be unafraid that they're not going to find a place to live. So it makes negotiable buying possible. And what they're saying is because we're in a situation now where the inventory is starting to build, although it's very low compared to what it was, a number of years ago. But because days on market are building up and new listings slowly are coming in, people that have to move, lifestyle change, relationship change, job change, that stuff, those people are still moving regardless of the numbers. And that gives buyers choices, and so what people will ask me, and they've asked me this already, this question's starting to come, do you think it'll be a buyer's market next year? And that means that they have a superior position to the sellers. I don't think that's not the case, because inventory is still overall low enough that prices will stay higher, right? But it's just going to be normalizing. So you're not going to be able to beat the seller into submission, I think is what I'm saying.
yeah, no, I think this one's an easy one. I don't think he's going out on a very much limb in a lot of markets that are identical to ours. It's a really good market to be in and really good spot. So, these we just don't have enough inventory. We didn't have enough inventory in the height of it. Everything that's created is created to slow the train down, not to create more inventory, right? So the raising of the interest rates, the tightening of credit, all these things are done to stop the request, not fixing the inventory problem. So we're going to have an inventory problem as soon as people want to buy again. Hopefully it won't be as bad as it was because of the sell issue. Like if it is more balanced, people will feel more comfortable with the selling than how they did it. Like Andy, I know we had several people that couldn't find anything but wouldn't sell theirs, right? Because they had no place to go. So hopefully that'll change.
Yeah, yeah. And things are starting to change already. So I'm positive next year's going to be weird. It's going to be a little quieter than usual, but I think we're going to survive that okay. And maybe it's just the optimist in me, but I don't think it's going to be nearly as bad as what a lot of people are saying. The sky is not falling. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's just tough right now for people, in our industry that's, If you didn't save any money, you're hurting right now. You're looking for extra stuff. So I'm not making light of it. It's just the way it is. Our business is cyclical, and you see all these people coming in and out of our business when these times happen. So yeah, it's just part of the business. It kind of goes crazy for several years and then corrects itself.
Yeah, well, and there's in my industry, there's been a lot of new people come. I mean, there's just tons of new real estate agents.
Hmm.
So I read a number the other day. They're expecting, and like you, I'm not making light of this, but we've been through this before. They're expecting 325,000 agents to walk away from the business in this next year. I don't know if that's high, low, or I have no clue. Um, but if you came in thinking you're going to get rich, it was easy pickings there for a while.
Yes.
And now, if you want to sell something, you kind of have to know what you're doing. So the next one is the sellers are going to have to get realistic. I think we've touched on this, but and this is part of the problem with, or the cause, I guess, with the high days on market, and that's that it's easy as a seller, and I'm seeing it. I'm still, it makes me laugh. I still see it in my very own neighborhood that there's new listings coming up, and they're way high.
Yeah.
They're way high. And I don't know if it's the agent issue or if it's the seller issue, a combination of both. The fear of the seller, the listing, the homeowner is firing them. I don't know what it is. But somewhere it got ingrained in people's DNA from this last couple of years that if you list your house, you don't have to fix anything and you can price it outrageously and it's still going to sell. There's a lot of smart people out there. There's a lot of homes being sold in very short order. They are fixed up, move-in ready, and they're priced correctly. Those homes magically still selling. But for the properties that are coming in overpriced, they are just sitting.
Yeah.
And that's where the sellers are, that, like we said before, there's a number of places where people are just quitting. If they have to sell, they'll come back to market, but they'll have a more realistic view, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, I don't envy the real estate's job right there. That's I guess you deal with it all the time. Everybody wants the most they can get for their house when they're selling, right? So,
Yeah.
but goodness gracious, it turned off like a light switch, and for a seller to be like, oh, and trying to recreate that magic from 6 or 9 months ago is,
Yeah.
it's just unrealistic. I don't envy our real estate agent community having to have these conversations with customers right now.
Well, I can tell you that secret. I made a joke on this video the other day. Was somebody will list it too high, they'll insist that that's correct, and they'll have to fire 2 or 3 agents to where
Hmm.
they get to the normal price. And I mean, if you're in real estate, that happens all the time. They'll blame you for their bad number. You're not
Right.
selling hard enough.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Sandwich board downtown? I don't know what that means. Oh, God. But that's funny.
Yeah, it's just tough to convince somebody, when it's their house. It's worth more than the one right next to it but
Yeah.
and who knows why, it could be they've done it, put a new refrigerator in or something. But yeah, I don't envy y'all at all with that.
One of the things that I've learned over the years, and I've never actually been fired from a listing yet, and I haven't. That hasn't happened to me. But one of the things that you can do, I think, is when you're talking to a person about selling their house, you tell them the truth. And you say, look, I understand you want X amount of dollars. The numbers we're looking at here is saying it's X minus 70, 60, 35, whatever the number is. If you tell them what your target seems to indicate, then how can anybody be mad at you, And that seems to have worked for, a couple of decades, and that works. So anyway, sorry, I could go on about that. Oof. So the next one, and this is, I thought, interesting, and I'll bet you this is part of what's happening in these other towns that are declining so quickly. Remember, Rodney, when COVID had hit, remote working was really forced upon employers. They didn't, if they wanted the work done, they had to allow remote work. They just did. And people started moving out of the city and moving to more rural areas, out in the country a little bit, and working from home. And they were digging it. It was a cool thing. And that forced all the markets, the suburban markets, to go up, because small town USA generally doesn't get a lot of attention until you got remote workers flowing in from wherever. And so their prices were going up. And so what this guy's saying is that as COVID it's really kind of released this. We're certainly not over it, but we're well beyond the panic of the thing. And that employers are starting to call their workers back. These towns are, if somebody's remote working in out of town USA, they're going to have to decide if they're going to do the drive time commute or they're going to move again,
Right.
And so anyway, I just thought that was that'll be interesting how that plays out.
Hey, exactly. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I like, I'm anxious to see how this plays out, along with the 4-day work week. It's been, Europe's tried it, and now there's several companies over here trying it. So it's I'm anxious to see how this remote worker. What do you say? Kind of, do you have any kind of statistics like 75% or 80% or 10% or any of that kind of remote workers are going to be returning?
Oh, no, there were no numbers on that because, I think the most recent thing was Elon Musk and Twitter. He's saying, look, come back into the office so you can quit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that there's whether you're pro or con, I'm not promoting anything. But if I was an employer, I think remote has its place, but I think that there's a high likelihood that people won't put in the same effort at home as at the office. But that's just old fashioned me. But I don't have a clue. And for the people, there's a lot of job openings, and for the people that can't get remote, they can quit and go someplace else because there appears to be plenty of jobs. So.
Yeah, we have both, but not everybody is not everybody does well at home. I have both, so
yeah,
it's not for everybody. For sure.
Right. And that's some people are able to do it really, really well, and others get distracted easily. I get that. There's nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. But
yeah,
anyway.
I can't work from my house.
Yeah. I can't work anywhere but my house.
My wife and the dog will overtake, and plus I don't have an office to go to. That's one of the things. I've never built an office, so it's like I'll go in the same place, I'll do other activities, so it never works for me.
Right. I get it. No, I get it. So number 7, we're almost through this, and we're going to kind of stay on track today. Number 7 is new construction activity is unlikely to increase. Now, I'm telling you, do you have any initial thoughts on that?
It says new construction will not increase.
Correct. Unlikely, not will not, but it's unlikely to increase. Throw out a couple of thoughts to you. The builder confidence level is in the toilet. It's like 33, and I don't exactly know how that corresponds, but they say 50 and above is okay, but it's 33 now. What they're saying is builders are not hot on the market. They're not excited about the market. And I've seen new construction now. They're offering incentives. They're dropping prices in new construction,
Yeah.
to get these things sold. Um, and so if you've got high mortgage rates, and they're still going to be in the highest next year, and you got buyers that now have options outside of new construction. 'Cause remember, there's a lot of buyers going to new construction because everything else was sold. So we'll
Right.
just buy new, because it's available, right? Well, now you got high mortgage, which keeps people away. You got less interest in buyers because they can get an existing home for, I don't know, less money, whatever the situation is.
Mhm.
That builders are not going to be pumped to be dumping millions of dollars into efforts that's uncertain. That's my whole point. I think that's his point too.
Yeah, I think I would project new construction to start increasing throughout the year. I think it's going to be just like it is right now in January, February, maybe, but March, if we get some good signs with rates, start trickling down. Because you got to think wherever they're at, they got if they don't start something today, they can't sell something in 6 months.
Right.
So if they don't have anything going on by March, they're not going to have a sale before September. So I think they're going. A lot of it too. Banks are going to have to give them some money. So and banks are extremely tight right now with construction
Yeah.
loans. So the market will have to improve before we even start back new construction, I think.
Like with construction loans and stuff like that. Is that what you're talking about?
Correct. Like our builders coming to the bank with needing construction money. So
Right.
that's harder to get right now as well because they're like, well, everything's sitting.
Right. Yeah. Great. We got differing opinions on that. Well, I don't necessarily have an opinion. I don't track new construction, but I watch what's going on. Not all markets are created equal. We kind of touched on this. What this is about is you're going to see different variations of the market in different cities and towns across the country. That's been really obvious what's going on. Like San Francisco's had a heck of a price drop. I mean, significant. And Denver,
Wow.
as they're talking about, is really having problems. And Austin and San Diego, their prices are dropping like crazy. Well, does that mean that Portland, Maine is? No. Does that mean Nashville necessarily is? No. And what his whole point is, I think that when we look at market numbers that we can see all the time on news articles and stuff, it gets homogeneous where everything blends into this one number that may mean something to one group and not to the other. That's what he's saying, I think. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, like you'd look at our city. Nashville's kind of stood the test of time. It didn't grow. It didn't grow just because of COVID. It grew in popularity because it's a great city. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you have some of these other towns that's grown for different reasons, obviously that they could experience, a accelerate in exodus, I guess,
Yeah.
with
Well, and that's a lot of those remote workers. You might even mention that's going to drain a lot of the people out of there. So, the next one is kind of interesting, and I don't mean that. I don't know what I mean by that, saying it that way. But affordability is going to be an ongoing issue over the last couple of years. First-time home buyers and lower income people have had quite a jump. That to get into a house is quite a jump, going from pretty reasonable to not reasonable at all. And what he's predicting is that affordability is going to continue to be an issue, and I have to agree with the guy on that.
I do too. Affordability one, the rates, we're coming off, in threes, twos, seeing rates at just crazy low levels, and now they're double that. So, now the sales prices are way up. So that's a huge task to overcome for first time home buyers.
It is,
And
and you're right. But I think we're going to see the beginnings of that next year, and that's what I keep trying to explain to people is we have to watch what starts trending. Because if the Fed lets off a little bit, which it sounds like that's the direction they're headed, it does, although it's not directly connected, mortgage rates tend to follow. And that looks like that's going to drop. Now, it could be 6 months for it to be significant, but if it's headed that way, and that's what I'm talking about trending, and we're already talking about prices dropping. I mean, there was one person had said, there was two groups. One had said that prices next year would be negative 1.5% year over year on house prices, which is really? And then another guy today said it was zero. So it's going to be dead flat for another year. Well, who knows? Who knows? But if you show me the trend of rates, moderating a little bit, going down is what I'm saying, and home prices normalizing, well, then we're going to start getting some people gaining the ability to get that first time home purchase, and I'm excited about that. I want everybody that's renting and sick of paying that, getting hit with an increase every year, getting a home of their own. I mean, that fires me up.
Yeah, actually getting to go look at it too,
Yeah.
and making a reasonable offer and going through a normal process of, looking at the house, making sure it's something you'd love to live in, things like that. Yeah, that's I just think the affordability piece of this, man, is how fast the home prices have grown. Wages haven't, it's like that first bit of inflation took away, the wage increase that they got, so it's, the best of the best will be able to do that. It's I guess the bottom tier of that first time home buyer is really going to struggle. They've got to, honestly, they need to prepare right now with no house, with no car payments, and start looking further out of the city, in some, like for us, let's say go to Columbia or something like that.
Right.
And Spring Hill, I know Spring Hill's probably good prices now too. So,
oh man, Thompson Station's like near the top. If you didn't know, I didn't. I was like,
yeah,
really? Because Thompson Station, as far as I'm concerned, is Spring Hill. I mean, it's
for some reason, Thompson Station people in Thompson Stations have that dirt out there is costly.
Well, the other part of that is Thompson Station is the sampling is very small. I mean, it's a really small community, so
Yeah.
a few $1 million homes, and you're going to skew all the numbers up, But anyway, so the last thing I'll say about that, and it leads us to the next and final point. I love this the way that works. I love the way that works. Is that I wonder, and this is just conjecture on his part. Do you think that the government will get more involved with affordability being an issue and such a large part of the economy? And we've already heard Biden talking about, or the White House, my apologies, talking about first-time homebuyer programs and stuff. We haven't seen any of them, but he's talking about them. And FHA, of course, that's not the government, but we've seen people trying to make it. I don't know if I don't want to say that. They've raised how much FHA will go, so that doesn't make it any easier on anybody. So do you think the government will get involved in any way, shape, or form to lessen the load on first-time home buyers? I mean, we're not looking at those.
I don't think that they could come up with a program that it could affect the masses, right?
Yeah.
What I think their attempt is right now, I honestly think that their attempt was to balance out our home purchase process, like meaning they understood what was going on in the market. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why they raised everything so much and crashed it or stopped it, because it was so out of balance.
Right.
And it was out of balance for, I would just say for the wealthy or the people who could afford the middle classers that had some extra money to go that made these purchases happen. So, I think we're seeing what the government's going to do, and that's stop the market.
Right.
They didn't it's not addressing the inventory issue. But it has slowed it down enough. It may be work out really good. It may, because it's stopped it. It's, for all intents and purposes, our market has come to a halt. So, yeah, there is a rebalancing. And what they've done is semi-worked. Prices are going down. If they could get rates under control, first-time home buyers will be back, in action.
Yeah.
But
and that,
I just don't see all these, it's like yuppies or young urban professionals. When you hadn't heard that term in the 80s. But say these guys, these business guys that come out of college, and want to work in a job downtown Nashville. I mean, where are they going to buy? It's too expensive. So they're going, that commute is enormous for, that type of person. So anyways, that's the issue I think we'll have.
Yeah. And I think in all fairness, we're just at the beginning of what I'm seeing as the change, I mean, prices, these are just trends at this point, prices are dipping down. It's looking pretty serious. Home sales have dropped like 5 or 6 months in a row, or more than that. I don't know what the current number is. It's a bunch though. And so, at least it's like exercise, sometimes the hardest thing is walking past your threshold to go do the exercise. But once you're into it, at least you've got it started,
Yeah,
that's
right.
And that's why I feel good about, that at least we're started, and it seems we're headed in a positive direction, but a painful one at the same time. That's it's a mind bender.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm glad that it's I've always wondered, like, we've had so many great years in a row. I'm like, how is this going to end? How is this going to end? And it's we're seeing it now. We're right in the middle of it, right? We're seeing it, or the beginning of it, or the beginning of the end of it, beginning of the middle. Who knows? But we're right in the middle of it. We're that's the thing about it, is we do know what's going on right now.
We do. Yeah, today we're pretty clear on that. Hey, well, listen, Rodney, thank you very much for going over those top 10 with me. And do if you have any final thoughts, anything?
No, it's my thought is always the same. If you have questions, go find you a good real estate agent and find they're worth their weight in gold.
And if you need a loan, go find yourself a good lender. And for anybody that's watching, the description box has all the information you need on that kind of thing. So anyway, so Rodney, listen, thanks a lot. We'll see you next Tuesday. Then I think we were talking about taking a couple of Tuesdays off after that for the Christmas holidays, right?
That's it.
But we'll see you next Tuesday, and we'll have another good topic. This is a really good one. So, hey, listen, everybody, thanks a lot. And we'll talk to you later. If you're on the replay, add your comments there. We get to see them anyway. So have a good week, everybody. Rodney, thank you very much, sir.
Appreciate you, my man. Y'all have a great week. See you later.
You bet. See you.